Today on Earth Focus, the 2009 Environmental Film Festival in Washington, D.C., featuring excerpts from films and interviews with festival participants, including filmmakers Barbara Ettinger and Sven Huseby on ocean acidification, and Jonathan and Christine Bird on blast fishing. And a look at Children of the Amazon, the recipient of Link TV's Outstanding Documentary Film Award, all coming up on Earth Focus. 136 films from 34 countries were screened at the 17th Annual Environmental Film Festival in the nation's capital, which has become the leading showcase for environmental films in the United States.
We hope that that people learn something and that maybe they're encouraged to take positive action to help address some of the big challenges that the environment is facing now.
More than 25,000 people attended the festival, which took place over 11 days in March 2009. Films covered a wide range of environmental subjects. Earth Focus compiled clips from some of the films. Let's have a look.
Bhutan is a treasure house of rare and endangered species, protected by the Fourth King's development policy of gross national happiness for all living beings. Thimphu is the capital of this country, of 650,000. Most Bhutanese speak 2 or 3 languages, with English the common language. Now the recently enthroned 5th king, Jigme Khesar Wangchuck, faces the greatest challenge in Bhutan's history. As he tries to follow his father's philosophy of gross national happiness, will this 26-year-old monarch be able to guide his people into the global marketplace without paying the price of Bhutan's environment and culture?
Is there such thing as insanity among penguins? I try to avoid a definition of insanity or derangement. I don't mean that a penguin might believe he or she is Lenin or Napoleon Bonaparte. But could they just go crazy because they've had enough of their colony?
Well, I've never seen a penguin bashing its head against a rock. They do get disoriented. They end up in places they shouldn't be, a long way from the ocean.
These penguins are all heading to the open water to the right. But one of them caught our eye, the one in the center. He would neither go towards the feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. But why?
This year, the festival spotlighted oceans, the Earth's final frontier. Oceans cover nearly 3/4 of our planet, but we know less about them than we do about the surface of the moon. 15 of the festival's films looked at the health of the oceans and at the role they play in our lives. The chemistry of the oceans is changing. They are becoming acidic as they absorb increasing levels of carbon dioxide. The consequences for both marine and human life will be profound. The film, A Sea Change, focused on ocean acidification. Here's a look.
I feel like I'm in the water. those bubbles for?
So they get oxygen. What is this creature down in the bottom?
A sunfish.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's right, you're right.
Oh. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's some over here that are teeny.
That is so beautiful.
Look, one broke. What I feel? I wish I was a fish.
Wish you were a fish?
There are massive, unrecognized changes of geologic scale taking place in the ocean. Ocean chemistry is being altered on a scale not seen for millions of years, and we don't know what the consequences will be.
We are heading into some pretty dangerous territory here.
It's not just the magnitude of the change, it's the rate of change that species can't adapt to.
I think we've gone past the point now whereby we can avoid losing significant species. We're playing poker. If we lose at the poker, we could have a lot of problems for civilization.
We now know that the absorption of carbon dioxide actually changes the very chemistry of our oceans. We risk not just damaging the ocean's ecosystem, we are threatening its very foundation.
Award-winning filmmaker Barbara Ettinger and her husband, producer Sven Huseby, traveled around the world to look at the impact ocean acidification will have on future generations. They spoke with Earth Focus correspondent Miles Benson about why they made A Sea Change.
Barbara Ettinger and Sven Huseby, your aptly named film, A Sea Change, is about acidification of the oceans. What made you decide that was important to put on film?
We read an article by one of our favorite environmental writers, Elizabeth Colbert, called The Darkening Sea. And here was a very well-written, engaging piece about this phenomena, ocean acidification, that, and I was embarrassed. I'd never heard of it.
Barbara, what exactly is acidification all about? Where does it come from? It's a chemical effect, is it not?
It's frequently referred to as the flip side of global warming. So essentially what it is, all of that man-made CO2 that has risen into the atmosphere that's creating the global warming issues, it doesn't stay up in the atmosphere. Eventually it comes back down, and 30% of that goes into the ocean itself, and it mingles with the salt water to form carbonic acid. Carbonic acid makes it very difficult for calcium carbonate to form. So that means all these shell creatures and coral reefs that need calcium carbonate to form their shells can't access as much as quickly any longer. So it takes them a lot longer to make their shells. And we are looking at, for instance, pteropods. They're frequently called sea angels. They have these beautiful, soft wings. They're a critical food source for salmon and many, many other fish. As a matter of fact, even whales open their mouths wide and go after these pteropods and other tiny little marine organisms. Well, they're the ones that have these shells that are thinning. And they're not going to have any food to eat once the pteropods and these small creatures can no longer survive. So we're looking at a very, very serious problem.
Is it all over the world, or is this localized to certain areas?
The amount of CO2 that's absorbed is directly related to the temperature of the water. The colder the water, the more CO2 is absorbed. So the higher concentrations of acid increases as you get closer to the poles. But it's also the colder water regions that hold the bulk of marine organisms in the form of fish. So that just adds to the problem.
Environmentalists have been talking about the collapse of fisheries for some time now. Are you saying this is a contributing factor to that phenomenon?
Fisheries are collapsing because of industrial fishing, because of pollution, because of warming temperatures, and because of ocean acidification. And those four conditions put together are something of a perfect storm.
What is your hope in terms of the impact the film itself will have? What is it you want it to do?
Well, what we do know about ocean acidification is that the culprit is CO2. So clearly what we want to do is send out the alarm that we have to do, and everybody has to do everything they can immediately to cut CO2 emissions. And we would love to become partners with the world and everybody who sees this movie to really make a point of insisting that there are very, very stringent efforts to reduce CO2, global CO2 emissions.
We made an unconscious decision close to 200 years ago to fuel modern life by burning oil, by burning coal, by burning gas. But at the time, we didn't realize the hidden costs that were embedded in that decision. And now these hidden costs are coming home to roost. This is demanding of us an entirely new way of thinking about energy and how we get it, because we can't continue to generate a waste product that is, in effect, creating havoc with this sphere we live on. And so we have to cut back on CO2 production. It's really about the CO2.
Sven, Barbara, thank you very much for being here.
Blast fishing is illegal, but that doesn't stop fishermen in Southeast Asia from using explosives to kill fish. It's a fast way to make a buck or to get a meal, but the consequences are tragic for fish, for other marine creatures, and for their habitats, such as coral reefs. The film Secrets of the Reef exposes this harmful practice. Here's a look.
In the middle of the Pacific Ocean lie thousands of islands, surrounded by thousands of square miles of blue tropical water. From the surface, we only see the islands and the waves as we carry on the business of our daily lives. For most people, the ocean is nothing more than a place to catch fish for dinner. And we rarely give a second thought to the incredible world concealed beneath the waves. This is a secret world full of color and beauty, and a world that is almost certainly just as complicated as our own. Like an immense sprawling underwater city, the realm of the coral reef has its own daily life, a wide range of different citizens, and its own perils. Above the reef, a blast fisherman is throwing homemade bombs into the water. It's a quick and easy way to catch some fish for dinner, but with dire consequences. The death toll is unfathomable. The bombs kill everything indiscriminately. The line-cheek wrasse, the damselfish, the clownfish, the anthias, even baby sea turtles. But the bomb kills more than fish. It destroys the coral itself, smashing it to pieces and ruining the habitat for future generations of fish.
Secrets of the Reef was made by underwater explorer and cinematographer Jonathan Bird and his wife, Christine, a family medical physician.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Bird, and welcome to my world.
Jonathan has won numerous awards for his work. He is host of Jonathan Bird's Blue World, a family-oriented series about the underwater world shown on public television. Jonathan and Christine speak with Miles Benson about their film, Secrets of the Reef.
Jonathan and Christine Bird, you've made a film, Secrets of the Reef, which is beautiful to see and a little bit disappointing and sad to hear what's behind it. With all of the troubles the oceans and the reefs are having with global warming and acidification, we're now blowing them up. Is this true?
It's hard to believe that it's true, but till I saw it myself, something you read about in books, but it's not really something you ever expect to see. And when I saw it, I thought, you know, really, I need to make a film about this and let people know that this is a real thing.
Jonathan, why are they doing it?
You know, it's like the old joke of throwing a hand grenade in a pond to catch a few fish, but that's literally what they do. They make homemade bombs. They're little Molotov cocktails made out of fertilizer explosives, and they throw them in the water and kablooey, and a few fish float up to the surface, and they putt over in their boat and they pick them up, and it's the quick and easy way to catch some fish.
Christine, I've heard that the fish that live on reefs contain all sorts of toxins. Are those fish really that healthy to eat?
Well, when you have nothing to eat, what are you going to do? You know, these people, this is how people are living every day. They are trying to put a meal on the table that night or sell a little fish to someone else so they can eat and make some money on it and then buy their other things they need. It's a day-to-day living approach of taking care of the reefs.
And this is mainly a problem, I understand, in the South Pacific. Are there no laws involved? Is it legal to do this?
Absolutely not. It's illegal everywhere.
Illegal?
Yes.
But why are they not enforcing the law?
It's a very complicated thing to enforce. I mean, there's lots of small bays and inlets and huge amounts of area to enforce, and they don't have the resources to do it.
How much longer can they keep doing that before the reefs are gone completely?
It'll be a couple of generations, and they'll have, you know, they'll be able to do this for one generation. The next generation will have fewer fish, and by the third generation, there won't be much left.
These reefs go away, and the problem is going to be widespread, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, there are areas where the reefs are just decimated, and then you go around the corner to the next village where they don't blast fish and the reefs are pristine. I mean, we shot most of our film, 75% of our film, in a marine park in the Batangas in the Philippines where there isn't any blast fishing because it is rigorously enforced, and the marine life is beautiful. Other than a little bit of a lack of large predatory fish because of conventional fishing, long lining, the reefs look wonderful. You go literally half an hour around the corner to the next island where they don't enforce it and there's blasting and the reefs look like rubble fields.
What's being done to put a stop to it?
Well, it involves a culture change and, you know, probably helping the people involved in it learning what the impact is in education of these communities. I think if not many of the people know that within a couple of generations there won't be any fish left and they will have lost their resource. That's the first step, is education, and then, you know, teaching the people who are doing it that it's not sustainable. Then they also need a means of finding a way to feed their families and earn a living. But without education, there's just no hope. I think enforcement is, you know, secondary. You have to do prevention and primary. And the education is the way to do primary prevention for this.
Jonathan, Christine Bird, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
He was a Brazilian rubber tapper named Francisco Alvarez Mendes Filho, but to the world he was known as Chico Mendes, the courageous activist who gave his life to protect the Amazon rainforest. For rubber tappers, the rainforest is their livelihood, but ranchers were moving in and cutting the forest to make way for cattle. Chico organized the tappers to fight back. He wanted to create forest reserves managed sustainably by traditional communities. For this, he was murdered by ranchers in 1988. Today, forest reserves cover more than 9 million acres in the Amazon, helping to protect the forest that provides 20% of the world's oxygen. Denise Smeekol's film, Children of the Amazon, looks at how the lives of Native children have changed over 15 years, and at the role Chico Mendes played in protecting the cultural and natural heritage of this region. The film received Link TV's award for Outstanding Documentary at the Environmental Film Festival. Let's take a look.
So this is for Chico Mendes. Thank you. When I first came to the Amazon, the forest was like a dream, a beautiful mystery. The faces of the children never left me. Yara, her face bright with paint. Mochira, so proud of her necklace. Arildo, always curious about my camera. Years ago on a film crew, I photographed the children of the Surui tribe, the Negarote tribe, and the rubber tappers, who came to harvest rubber and made the forest their home. I also saw destruction. The road that took me to the forest separated the native people from their past and changed forest life forever. These children, born into the chaos of change, inspired a rubber tapper named Chico Mendes to fight to save the biggest forest on Earth. I look at these pictures after 15 years and wonder, what has become of these children? What forces have shaped their lives? And how is their fate in so distant a place connected to ours? I had to go back. Well, I was traveling in the Amazon in the 80s, working for different films, and I always had my camera on the side, my still camera, and I was always taking pictures of kids. And then 15 years later, I moved to San Francisco, and I had all these slides, and I started looking at them, and I decided to print them to make an exhibit. And that's when I realized that it had been a long time, and I was wondering what had happened to these children, what happened to their lives, their forest home. But also, there was something that really hit me. I had been asked for a favor by Chico Mendes, who is one of the characters in the film, and his daughter is in the film, and his son. And Chico Mendes had asked me to film his funeral. And I couldn't make it that time, I couldn't go. So when I saw the pictures and I saw the picture of him with his son again, I said, wow, you know, I think I owe this person a favor, a big favor. Why don't I just go back and maybe talk about his life, what he did during his life, and go visit his kids, you know, as part of my return to the Amazon. So that's the two reasons, just to find out what was happening after so many years, and I owe someone a favor. And the first time I met him, I didn't know who was in front of me. You know, I didn't know how much that man was going to impact his community and the world with his vision and his understanding that it's the same. The Amazon is for the whole planet. It's not only for the rubber tappers or the Indians, it's for everybody. And you really have to think of ways to do things around the forest that don't destroy the forest and the communities of people from the forest. And he always was so pacifist. He never used violence. He was an amazing person. I remember when he called me and said, I'm gonna die. I know I'm gonna die. I know they're gonna kill me. And I said, oh my God, He said, no, I know. It was December 8th, and he said, I know they're gonna kill me by the end of the year. In a way, I'm glad that I could make a film about his life, like Elenira said to me at the premiere of the film. So Elenira is his daughter, and she came for the premiere in California, and she said to me, I'm so thankful, that you didn't go film my father's funeral, but you made a film about his life. I just hope people can learn from these stories from these people and realize that we are so connected to these people that, more than ever, we're very close, because anything we do here is going to be affecting them. So if you're buying hardwood from the Amazon that's taken illegally, you're affecting them. And if they're people are allowing to take log from their reservations, if they're cutting down, it's going to affect climate change. So one day we're going to be feeling the effects of the global warming. So it's very important that people is educated and it's aware and conscious about the issues that are happening in the Amazon, because it's concerned us all.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs. Programs that connect you to the world.